All right, today I have Trisha Bellesque with me. She is the manager for Raise the Bar Hancock County here in Hancock County, Ohio. It is one of the funded programs and partners of United Way of Hancock County. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here as part of this Mass Singers Live United event. But I'd also like to educate the community a little bit about what Raise the Bar does here for our community. So can you explain a little bit about what you do and how it works?
Absolutely. So Raise the Bar Hancock County is meant to be the arm to figure out what employers need today and into the future for their employees, whether that's soft skills or special skills on automation or robotics or welding, whatever it might be. And then how do we get those skills into the workforce now, whether that's youth or the adults who are ready to actually be employed. So we're working a lot in the schools.
Okay.
We do a lot with the Leader in Me, which is a program that's Franklin Covey's 7 Habits program. We're bringing that to all of our county schools so that youth get really great soft skills. And then by the time they're in junior high, we're helping them explore all the career options here in town. And by the time they get to high school and beyond, we're looking for those pathways to certifications and degrees that'll help them in the workforce.
Wow, so it's a lot of doing today for tomorrow. That whole kind of visioning process.
Visioning and trying to predict what types of skills, and that's why we focus a lot on the soft skills at a very young age. It helps them be adaptable. You know, we want them to learn flexibility and to be able to come into a program wherever it is, whether that's 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road.
Right.
But they'll be able to learn how to learn the skills that are needed when it comes time.
Yeah, those soft skills are sometimes overlooked, and they're so vital to getting through to even the next level sometimes, even where you're at in the moment. So,
Absolutely.
so you know, COVID's hit everybody pretty hard this year. Tell us about Raise the Bar during this COVID experience. What has been happening? We know manufacturing in the community looks different. So can you tell us about Raise the Bar in the COVID experience?
Sure. COVID has not stopped what we're doing. It's allowing us to pause and say, okay, employers, you said you needed this type of an employee before COVID. What do you need now? And looking to speed up almost, you know, they were predicting by 2030, we wouldn't know what most jobs were going to look like, 85% of them.
Wow.
Now with COVID, that might have sped some of that up for us because technology took over. The workplace looks very, very different. People don't always have to be on site. And so now we are looking to say, what do you need now? But we're still doing the Leader in Me. We're not able to get into the schools as much as we would like this year, but we're being patient and finding other ways to keep the youth engaged in those conversations.
See, that's what I find so amazing about all of the agencies that we work with is that ability from the leadership level to look at what they do and adapt to what the needs are in the community right now. So hats off to you for that, and to the other agencies who've made that a reality of their everyday is what's next, how do I change, how do I make that impact without having what I normally have to rely on. So a lot of times our agencies have events and things, and I know you had like a manufacturing event in October. Do you have anything else coming up, or do you want to share a little bit about the manufacturing event?
Yeah, so we don't have any new events coming up as of yet, but on October the 1st, we hosted Ohio Fame Live. Ohio Fame is our community's Ohio Federation for Advanced Manufacturing Education. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
But it's basically an earn while you learn program, and it's looking to get anyone who has a high school degree and is looking to work in the manufacturing industry. They go to school 2 days per week at Owens Community College here in Findlay, and then they work for their employer first shift the other 3 days per week.
Wow.
So it's a perfect blend where they get to earn an associate's degree while also applying it on the job. It's kind of like an apprenticeship, but it's not that length of time. But we had a live webinar on October 1st for employers to learn about the program, and we're really excited to be growing that this year. Lots to come on that.
So some great partnerships there to make that happen, and I know that a lot of the different corporations really come in and support that effort because they know it pays off in the end.
It does.
So you know, one last thing, but kind of before I let you go here, you know, this program, you've explained it to us, but what would the community look like without this type of effort?
Yeah, I think we're the ones that are centralizing all the conversations. Schools can continue to do what they are told to do, what they feel is best needs for the students. Businesses are going to continue to look for skills. Raise the Bar is meant to connect those two groups together in conversations. Because when businesses say we need these skills, if they're not translating that into the school system in a way that the schools can actually interact and impact with that, we're losing our momentum.
Yeah.
And so if Raise the Bar wasn't here, we wouldn't be having these kinds of conversations, and we wouldn't be able to as quickly get the cradle to career continuum going with a seamless transition of skill sets and knowledge.
Yeah, it's that kind of that hinge that keeps everything together.
Exactly.
It kind of keeps the doors swinging on the way down.
Exactly.
So, well, I just want to say thank you so much for being here again today. If anybody has questions, they can always reach out to you, Trisha Bellesque at Raise the Bar Hancock County. And do you have an email address you want to share with us?
Sure. So it's TVALASEK, that's a mouthful, at raisethebarhancock.org. You can also find us on just raisethebarhancock.org as a URL, and it'll find everything about us.
Awesome. Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us again for Mass Singers Live United. With me, I have Leigh Zydonik. She is the Executive Director for the Center for Civic Engagement here in Hancock County. It is actually housed at the University of Findlay, and it is one of our funded programs and partners here in the community. So Leigh, thank you so much for being part of the Mass Singers Live United. We like to highlight the great work that our organizations do, and you're one of those organizations. Would you kind of educate the community on what it is that the Center for Civic Engagement does here locally?
Absolutely. The Center for Civic Engagement is a collaboration between three organizations: the United Way, so thank you very much, the Community Foundation, and the University of Findlay. And we were born basically 3 years ago to be that backbone support for the 8 coalitions that are in our community. So we provide resources, have students and faculty come in and help. So whatever it needs to help keep the process moving is what we try to do.
Right.
The coalitions came about with the community conversations that the United Way, once again, and the Community Foundation came together to the community and said, what are our most pressing needs? And out of those conversations came 8 different social sectors, we'll call it. So food security, health, housing, transportation, workforce development, literacy, safety and abuse, and I'm going to miss one now because
this is so hard.
I know. So, mental health and substance use. Did I say that one?
No.
I don't think so. So what we do is those 8 organizations get together and they work within all the agencies in their own sector. And what we also do is bring those 8 sectors together and help collaborate with the work that's going on between the sectors. So just fun stuff like Habitat for Humanity with the housing. Every time they build a house now, literacy comes in and provides a bookshelf full of children's books in that house. So just
awesome.
Fun things that we can connect together that probably wasn't happening before because they really didn't know each other.
Right.
So it's just a big relationship building experience.
Well, and that's huge. Relationships are everything when it comes to solving community issues because an issue cannot be solved by one entity or just one sector of the community. You need all the different sectors of the community to take a look and kind of form around that issue to make a difference, right?
Right.
So everybody has their perspective on what the issue is, but until you get all the sectors together and kind of do that homework, it's hard to really know what the issues are impacting.
And when you're doing it, you know, these agencies, everyone is working so hard what they're doing, and you got your nose to the grindstone, and you're just pushing this, but sometimes you become a silo.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do is get everyone's heads up, looking around, and hey, how can we partner with each other? How can we collaborate together so we can make this community a better place to be?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because that's the only way you're going to make that effective change in our community. So now we've been through the COVID experience now for several months,
Yes.
And we talk about this often with the agencies. There's an impact across the board. What was Center for Civic Engagement? Well, how's your experience been through this COVID situation, and how have you been able to adapt or respond?
Well, one of the main things when it first began was actually back in October, our mental health coalition with Focus, Wellness, and Health started a website, a resource directory, which was hancockhelps.org. So if you have not checked that out, hancockhelps.org. It is a resource directory of all the different things going on in Findlay social service-wise, so in Hancock County. And so we had that going along, and when COVID hit come March, we needed a way to get information out to the rest of the community about, you know, times are changing, what are the new hours, what are the new protocols. So, one phone call to Focus and said, hey, let's make this our community directory. and we're in touch with 70 different organizations,
Wow.
making sure we had up-to-the-date information. And the relationships we have built made that possible. We did it within days. Other communities didn't even know who was at the table, who were the right people, and to set up an infrastructure like that would have taken months.
Right.
So just because of these relationships we've had built, everything moved very quickly.
Yeah, you guys have kind of been that access for a lot of things,
Exactly.
helping to find resources and connect people to resources. I mean, that's
Another
huge.
example was when in the beginning when the virus was spreading like wildfire in the prisons and nursing homes, we got together and said, look, we have a lot of congregate shelters, City Mission, Open Arms. What would happen if they would get infected? It would just spread like crazy. So we got everyone together, and with public health and the hospital and 22 different congregate shelters, we started meeting weekly. And what is the plan? How are we going to develop this? And out of that came an isolation and quarantine center. So if something happens, we have a place to put those folks so they're not contagious, they're not going to infect each other. So that was one of the really cool things that came out of it was we had those relationships. We could immediately call together and say, what do? We need you together. And everyone came because they trusted each other. They knew what programs they had, and it moved very seamlessly.
I know that HATS too, they created like an isolation vehicle, which is interesting because I just recently know somebody who was diagnosed with COVID or thought they had COVID, I'm sorry, and didn't want to ask anybody to take them anywhere. And I was able to say, well, as a result of the efforts of the Center for Civic Engagement and the community members and agencies, there is a vehicle available for anybody who's home alone, doesn't want to ask somebody in case they might infect them. There is a vehicle available to be able to transport.
And along with the vehicle, the transportation, we had the food security made sure that they were going to be fed. So if you're in isolation or in quarantine, how do you get there? And now I'm stuck. How am I going to eat? So, all of these groups working together really was evident on how much we need each other and how collaboration is critical to solving some of these issues.
Yeah, you guys even put together that mask drive and all kinds of the PPE stuff.
Yeah, when PPE and you couldn't find hand sanitizer or wipes anywhere, we asked the public, and the public was so awesome about responding to the need. That's how we stocked the isolation and quarantine center, and also stocked the congregate shelters. We were able to provide over 750 masks to clients and our caseworkers that had to deal with the public during this time.
So I'm pretty sure you didn't sleep for like 4 months.
When everyone else was at home going, gosh, I'm so bored.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not.
I'm really glad my kids were in college and I didn't have to worry about them, so I was not bored.
So, all right, well, really quick here, just to give you another second, but is there any events coming up for Center for Civic Engagement? Anything you want to share?
Yes, we are sponsoring a Bridges Out of Poverty training, and that will be October 27th from 9:30 to 12:30 at the university. If you get in touch with me, you can email me at Leigh Zydonik, LEIGH.ZYDONIK @finley.edu, or just Google Center for Civic Engagement Finley. It'll come up with our stuff.
That's excellent. That's a great program. I'm glad to hear that there's a training happening. It's an excellent program. So, Leigh, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and for being a resource for the community. We so appreciate everything you do there, and thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having us, and thank you for your support. We couldn't do it without you.